What is something you want people to know about Georgia?
I want people to know that Georgia is a free country. Our government is trying to make this country more like pro-Russian. We want it to be more European.
I really think they are somehow delusional. The young generation is not doing politics. They just stay in the streets and move someone else's agenda. My name is Nino. I'm 29 years old. I'm half Georgian and half Russian.
My name is Rati. I'm 31 years old and I'm protesting against our government right now.
Welcome to Georgia. This is Tbilisi. Nestled between Eastern Europe and West Asia, the small country of under 4 million people has been at the intersection of great power interests for centuries. Today, Georgia is at a crossroads between its Soviet legacy and the chance of a future with the West.
Now in Georgia, thousands of people have been protesting in the capital Tbilisi for a 5th night in a row.
The ruling party of the country of Georgia has suspended talks to join the European Union.
So I have to cover up my face because our government put lots of cameras around. We're getting recognized on the videos. We're getting lots of fines. So we're always trying to be free. That's the main thing. Of course, we're trying to be free now as well and not to be under Russian influence.
I was born in Moscow but raised in Georgia. I was studying in Georgia and I remember history class. And we were brought up thinking that there is an enemy in the north.
Growing up, we were learning Russian at school. All the TV channels, all the movies, all the cartoons were in Russian language. It was normal for us because we didn't really have our opinion about all that. When we became a bit older, then internet came. We started to see and hear much more around us.
Georgia was a Soviet republic from its occupation in 1921 until shortly before the fall of the USSR in 1991. Following its independence, Georgia increasingly tilted away from Russia and towards the West. The way to do that was applying to join the European Union and the NATO military alliance. For Russia, this represented a threat, a move to weaken its strength. Georgia's Western orientation led to worsening relations with Russia, culminating in the Russo-Georgian War of 2008. 16 years on, the regions of Abkhazia and South Ossetia are still occupied by Russian forces.
I remember quite well how my mother told me when I woke up in the morning by falling off the bed because there was a blow up nearby our house. I asked Mom what's going on. She said the war has started, and I wondered with who, and she said Russia. And I couldn't believe it because I was growing up feeling myself Russian and Georgian. It's hard for a child to accept such reality.
In 2008, I was a kid, 15, 16 years old, and I remember how Russia invaded Georgia. They took 20% of our territory. Till today, it's still invaded by Russia. I don't know why people forget it. The things that happened in Ukraine now are happening here. It's the beginning of those steps.
While the conflict remains latent at Georgia's borders, something big has been happening in the capital. Since 2023, Georgia has been in a political crisis with no end in sight, with waves of protests rocking Tbilisi. Rati has been at the forefront for months.
You need to always, every day, come out because nothing is changing in this country, and we need to show our government that we will not give up. I have 2 kids, and in the evening when they go to sleep, we both straight away go to the protests and we leave the kids to our grandparents. They always complain about oh, are you again going on protests and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really hard, but we have to do it for their futures.
The first mass demonstrations began in the spring of 2023 to protest against a bill known as the Foreign Agents Law. It mandated NGOs and independent media that receive more than 20% of their funding from foreign donors to register as organizations bearing the interests of a foreign power. The bill echoed a similar law that Russia passed in 2012 and that the Kremlin has since used to suppress its opponents. In November 2024, legislative elections resulted in a disputed victory by Georgian Dream. The party has been in power since 2012 and it acquired over the years an increasingly culturally conservative and Eurosceptic stance.
Current government is not legitimate, of course, and it will never be.
I don't believe that elections were stolen, like they say, because there is no proof. It's been going on since 2012, since the last elections. It's going on every electional year that they say that elections are stolen. So they never accept the loss.
The elections were not legitimate. They were stolen. Lots of people were bribed. Lots of Russian influences happening on the Georgian elections.
Following well-documented manipulation and irregularities, the European Parliament rejected the outcome of the 2024 Georgian elections. As a result, one of the first acts of the new government was to stop integration talks with the EU until 2028. Since then, protesters have been on the streets every single day, despite draconian laws criminalizing even symbolic acts of protest and documented police brutality.
On the 1st of December, it was early morning, around 6:30 a.m. I was at the protest with my wife and with our friends. From the police side, about 15 people ran towards me and they captured me. And they put me in the van. At least 3 people were coming inside the van and beating me up. Verbal abuse, physical abuse, they took all of my stuff. And during 1 hour I was in that van, they came inside 4 times and continued beating me. I had a broken nose, head concussion, lots of bruises around my body. I stayed at home for about 12 days. My wife was going to protest every day. And after 12 days, I continued. Even today, I'm going to the protest as well. Yeah, so we're going to the protest now, where people will start gathering up. I don't know why people always say that they don't want war. Of course, we don't want war as well. Ukrainians didn't want war as well, but Russia invaded them. So you either gave more part of your country to Russians and you become Russia, and of course there will be no war. You will just submit your country to Russia, or otherwise you fight, you come out, you struggle.
Georgian Dream was founded in 2012 by billionaire Bidzina Ivanishvili, a man who made his fortune in Russia. After a brief time as prime minister, he stepped away from the spotlight, but the oligarch still holds a sizable influence, with his wealth estimated to rival the country's entire annual budget. The party's support is particularly strong among older voters in rural areas, many of whom hold some nostalgia for the Soviet era, evoking a time of stability and security.
For example, our parents, they remember Russia better because we've been occupied by Russia for several years.
It's quite different because my mom is anti-Soviet and my grandparents just love Russia and Soviet Union. So it's quite mixed again because different generations and different perspectives.
We are really close to our relatives. There are lots of people who don't support you and they are super close to you. So all this splitting in the families, it's really hard.
The generational divide may be strong, but support for European integration is overwhelming today. A 2023 survey revealed that 89% of Georgians expressed favourable views towards the EU membership. Nino is part of the remaining 11%.
Joining European Union also influenced our internal policies. Not all people agree with this. We either consider majority's opinion or we get influenced by the minority which wants to be the part of the EU, but by any price, by any sense, just let's join EU. At the moment, it's better to stay neutral.
For young protesters like Rati, there is no such thing as neutrality. There is no possibility for Georgia to be fully independent from foreign powers, so Europe and the West represent the only alternative to being swallowed by Russia.
Europe is like, it's more freedom, it's more democratic, economically stronger, independent, to have more freedom in our country, freedom of speech.
I really think they are somehow delusional because we have different traditions and different culture and we have different history. Our history was never interconnected with Europe because we want it to be a European country, but we are different.
Georgia's youth are caught between deep-rooted Orthodox traditions and a growing aspiration for European liberal values. Yet, in a country ranked among the worst in Europe for LGBTQ+ rights, progress comes with resistance.
So basically in Georgia, lots of people who are gay, they are really afraid of coming out in the streets. They're always threatened. Georgian culture and religion is based on the culture is almost based on the religion. Sadly, they say that if we go to Europe, we will lose our ethnicity, we will lose our culture, we will forget everything that is sacred, which is, of course, bullshit, so yeah.
We just don't want this to be in public, providing the grants and advertising LGBT propaganda. Different background, different culture, and different ways of approaching to personal life. My dream for this country is that Georgians come to peace with one another and never harm each other just to be good for someone else from abroad. That's it.
Once again torn apart by a power struggle, the vast majority of young Georgians know that the future of the country depends on their ability to resist and fight back.
This is the 80th day of protest, non-stop protest. Every day we are closing the streets to show our government and other countries and to show Russia that we will not surrender. And then we will fight till the end until we win.